Thomas Sankara was born on December 21, 1949, in what was then called Upper Volta. His life became closely tied to the history of his country, and the story of his leadership continues to inspire many people today. To understand his story, we must look at the time in which he lived, the changes he brought to his country, and the way he is remembered. This story avoids his private life and instead focuses on his public work and his vision. The world of Thomas Sankara in the 1970s and 1980s was one of change. Many African nations had recently become independent, but they faced great challenges. Colonial rule had left economies weak and societies divided. New governments often struggled to provide jobs, food, and schools for their people. In many places, leaders became corrupt or depended too heavily on foreign countries for help. In this context, Sankara's rise to power carried the hope of something different. His leadership was not about wealth or personal comfort. Instead, he wanted to show that a poor country could stand proudly, take care of itself, and inspire others to do the same. In 1983, Sankara became the leader of Upper Volta after a change of government. He was only 33 years old, very young for such a position. Once in power, he made bold decisions immediately. He believed the name Upper Volta was tied to colonial history and did not represent the identity of the people. So he changed it to Burkina Faso, which means the land of upright people in the local languages. This was not just a change of words. It was a clear message that the nation would rise with dignity, free from the shadow of the past. Sankara's government focused on self-reliance. He encouraged farmers to produce more food by reducing taxes, giving them tools, and cutting the influence of middlemen who took profits away. He believed that no country could be free if it could not feed its own people. Within a few years, Burkina Faso became much more self-sufficient in food. This was a major achievement in a land often troubled by droughts and hunger. He also wanted the people to take part in shaping their own future, not wait for solutions from outside. To him, freedom meant both political independence and the ability to provide for the nation's needs. Education was another area of great importance. Sankara believed that children should have access to schools, and that adults too could learn. His government built new schools and started programs to teach reading and writing. He wanted a society where knowledge was shared widely, not only for a small elite. He believed that education was a tool to give people confidence and to break away from old systems of dependence. Healthcare was treated in the same spirit. Vaccination campaigns were launched to protect children from deadly diseases. In a short time, millions of children were vaccinated, saving many lives. Clinics were built in villages, and doctors were encouraged to serve the people directly rather than stay in cities. For Sankara, health and education were basic rights, not privileges. Sankara also spoke out strongly against corruption and the misuse of power. He lived simply and asked others in government to do the same. Expensive cars, luxury houses, and high salaries for officials were discouraged. He wanted leaders to be close to the people, not distant from them. His speeches often carried this message, that the leaders must serve, not rule over the population. He set an example by riding a bicycle or driving a modest car, instead of using costly vehicles. This behavior shocked many people at the time, but also earned him deep respect. It showed that he was serious about his principles. Another striking part of Sankara's leadership was his attention to women's rights. In many parts of Africa, women faced discrimination, lack of opportunities, and heavy social expectations. Sankara argued that the liberation of women was necessary for the liberation of the whole society. He promoted education for girls, encouraged women to join the army and take part in leadership, and criticized traditions that harmed women, such as forced marriages. He spoke clearly about this, saying that no true revolution could succeed without the participation of women. His ideas about gender equality were advanced for his time and remain powerful even today. Internationally, Sankara became known for his bold voice. He spoke against the heavy debts that many African nations owed to foreign banks and governments. He argued that these debts kept Africa poor and dependent, and he encouraged African leaders to join together to refuse repayment. His speeches at international meetings were remembered for their clarity and courage. While many admired his honesty, these positions also made him enemies, because powerful nations and organizations did not like being challenged. Sankara did not fear this. He believed that telling the truth was more important than gaining approval from the powerful. Despite his achievements, his time in power was not without difficulties. Some people inside and outside his country did not agree with his policies. His strict measures against corruption and privilege angered those who benefited from the old system. His strong words against foreign influence upset leaders abroad. Within his own government, there were disagreements and rivalries. The changes he introduced were fast and often radical, which created both excitement and resistance. For ordinary citizens, life did not become easy overnight. While progress was made in food, health, and education, the country still remained poor, and not everyone agreed with his way of governing. In October 1987, just 4 years after coming to power, Sankara's leadership was cut short. He was overthrown and killed in a violent change of government. His death shocked many people in Burkina Faso and around the world. He was only 37 years old. Some of the projects he started were abandoned afterward, while others continued in different forms. Yet the memory of his work and his vision did not disappear. Instead, over time, he became a symbol of integrity, courage, and hope for many in Africa and beyond. His short period of leadership left a deep mark. Today, when people remember Thomas Sankara, they often focus on his ideas and the example he gave. His call for self-reliance, honesty, equality, and independence still speaks to problems that many countries face. His image appears in songs, books, and discussions about justice and development. Even though he was young and his leadership lasted only a few years, his influence remains alive. For many, he represents the possibility that a leader can be honest and dedicated to the people, not just to power or wealth. The story of Thomas Sankara is not simply the story of one man. It is also the story of a nation trying to define itself after colonial rule. It is the story of how ideas can inspire action, and how courage can leave a lasting legacy even when the person is gone. His birthday, December 21, 1949, marks the beginning of a life that changed the way many people thought about leadership in Africa. His end was sudden, but his example continues to live. He showed that a leader could speak of dignity, act with simplicity, and imagine a future built on justice. In the end, Sankara's story encourages people to ask difficult questions. Can nations free themselves from unfair economic systems? Can leaders live simply and serve honestly? Can women and men share equally in building the future? His life gave one possible answer: yes, it is possible if there is courage and commitment. The people of Burkina Faso, and many others around the world, continue to look back at his short time in power as a moment when such possibilities seemed real. The echo of his words and his actions has not disappeared even decades later. The story of Thomas Sankara is therefore not only about the past, but also about the dreams that still inspire struggles for a better future.